The number one pick in the NFL draft rarely, if ever, gets traded. But if the draft order stays like this, with the Titans and the Giants picking at first and second overall, respectively, then I think a trade down is more than likely, especially considering this quarterback class, which is pretty good on the whole, but is definitely top heavy. If you don't get one of those top three guys, then you might just be out of luck. So today, I'm going to be doing a mock draft with trades. It's going to be a what I would do mock draft. There will be a few predictions sprinkled in. But before we get into it, make sure you like and comment to push this mock draft out to other draft fans. And make sure you subscribe to not miss out on a single draft video. I've got quarterback rankings coming up, all position rankings, best fits, sleepers, and more, all to come in the draft season. So make sure you subscribe to not miss out on a single one of those videos. But without further ado, let's get into it. And as I said, the Titans are picking first, and we are going to pick up the phone and listen to trades. Definitely not from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers all the way down at 20, but the teams that I think could trade up at this point in the season. I'm looking at the Raiders at 4, the Browns at 5, and the Cardinals at 8. Maybe the Jets as well. They have a lot of draft capital, but I don't really know if I'm the Jets GM, if I want to kind of use a lot of that draft capital this early on. So I'm going to trade up here with the Cleveland Browns. They've got 2 picks this year. They got the Jags pick as well. And historically, looking at trades that are kind of similar, we've got the Eagles who traded up from 8 to 2, the Browns who would be trading up from 5 to 1. So relatively similar there. And what it cost them to do that in 2016 for Carson Wentz, 2 firsts, a third, a fourth, and an extra second, a conditional second. So these 2 firsts and change is what we're going to roll with. It would be more on the actual night, but for now, for this thought experiment, it works that it's both of those picks. We're going to force that trade through. And the Cleveland Browns then on the clock with the first overall pick. And I have a new QB1. I haven't updated my big board yet. That's already on this channel if you want to go and look at it. Go and find that video. But there is an update to that big board, definitely. My new QB1 is Dante Moore from Oregon. And it's because I think that he has the best physical tools in this class. I really like Mendoza. I'll talk about him. I really like Ty Simpson. I'll, of course, talk about him as well. But if we look at the quarterbacks that are dominating the league right now, the Drake Mays, the Josh Allens, even the Patrick Mahomes, who even, yes, this season is playing well. Not as well as he's previously been playing, but he's still playing some damn good football. They're those physical freaks. They're the guys that are bigger, that are faster, that are stronger, that do have a better arm. And I think that if you're drafting a quarterback first overall, you kind of want to take a swing, I think, on someone with a bit more upside. And Dante Moore, there's the issue of should he declare this year? Obviously, he's only 20 years old. He could definitely go back to school. That was generally the thought, the unanimous thought as of a few weeks ago. But Dante Moore has been absolutely balling. Great game against Washington, 5 big-time throws. He looks like the potential QB1. And I think that Dante Moore should declare, because we've seen this season firsthand in college football what can happen to you if you pass up the opportunity of going to the league. Look at Drew Aller last year, and I think the similarities between Aller and Dante Moore are actually quite apt. Drew Aller was a physical quarterback, just in terms of his stature, right? Aller's like, 6'4". He has a good arm, a very imperfect quarterback, but one which the upside was quite tantalizing for a lot of NFL teams. He went back to school, back to Penn State. He's now injured for the season. Penn State have absolutely imploded, and Drew Aller is going to be a day 3 pick now. So it's not to say that just because you go back to school, you're going to immediately become better and become a higher draft pick, potentially. In my mind, Dante Moore's already potentially worth the first overall pick, definitely a top 5 pick. I think he'd be foolish to stay in college for another year and turn that down. Yes, there's NIL in college, but it doesn't hold a candle to the amount of money that you make as a top 5 draft pick in the NFL. I'm going to take Dante Moore here. He's still only 20 years old. He's got a 7.3% big-time throw rate, 5 against Washington, as I said. He's 6'3", 206 pounds. I think he could easily play at 220 when he fills out. As I said, he's only 20 years old, will be 21 in his rookie season. I think the upside of Dante Moore is what makes him worthy of the first overall pick here. So the Giants at 2, and if they needed an edge rusher like a Reuben Bain Jr. or an Arvell Reese, I might not think about trading this, considering that they are fantastic players. They've already got Brian Burns, they've already got Abdul Carter, so we definitely are going to listen to some trades down here. Not from the Los Angeles Rams at 9. Interesting though, we are going to go with the Raiders here. If I'm the Raiders, I'm just going to pull the trigger. I do like Geno Smith as a quarterback. I think that it's really not been a good fit there with the mess with Chip Kelly and Steve Carroll. Pete Carroll with his nepotism, bringing his sons in. There's some weird stuff going on in Las Vegas, and I don't think it's fair to put that all on the feet of Geno Smith. But also, Geno Smith hasn't been good enough this year, and I think you'd be hard-pressed to be able to roll into the season with him still as your quarterback and expect to be in your job next year. Looking at previous trades, the Bears traded from 3 to 2 in 2017 to draft Mitch Trubisky. That only cost them that first, a third, a fourth, and a conditional third. Let's just say that this will cost their first this year and their second this year. We'll just force it through. Doesn't really matter the exact kind of nitty gritty of it. It's just an idea. It will cost their first, obviously, this time. Force that trade through, and the Las Vegas Raiders are now on the clock. And this is a pretty tricky one, I think, for me now, because it's obviously going to be a quarterback. It's obviously going to be between Ty Simpson and Fernando Mendoza. I think that Ty Simpson's play has unfortunately dropped off a little bit in the second half of this season. He had fantastic games against the likes of Vanderbilt in the beginning of this season. Started rough against FSU, obviously, but generally speaking, Ty Simpson, as of about the midpoint of the season, was looking like QB1. He's been up and down since then. Fernando Mendoza has looked really good. He's got a humongous test for his draft stock this week against Ohio State in the Big Ten championship game. I think that Fernando Mendoza is the stronger prospect. He's going to be higher on my draft board. He will likely be my QB2. And he's shown that Fernando Mendoza has shown that he can just make those tough throws. I think it's going to be tricky with this Raiders offensive line. I think he's a quarterback that you kind of want to have that Jared Goff. You're going to hear it all draft season, right? Fernando Mendoza is a little bit like Jared Goff in the sense that he is a field general quarterback. He can sit in the pocket. He can make the throws. He's tough. And, he's not a superb athlete. I think that Mendoza has a bit more juice to him than Jared Goff. I think his arm strength is a bit better. I think Mendoza is a bit more of a better athlete. You're hardly going to run a read option with Mendoza, but it paints a good picture. And I think that with someone like a Fernando Mendoza as your quarterback, you kind of want to have a pretty good situation around him. The offensive line isn't fantastic in Las Vegas, or at least the run blocking is. And I think we're just going to have to bite the bullet and say we put the quarterback in there and we're going to build around him. But Fernando Mendoza could essentially lock up QB1, depending on what Dante Moore does, if he has a good game against this Ohio State defense this year, because you're going to see a lot of Ohio State defensive players go in this draft. I can guarantee you that, because my God, is it an absolute unit. But Mendoza is 6'5", 225. He's an experienced quarterback, played at Cal behind a bad offensive line, looked pretty decent then, looks really good for Indiana now, one of the best season in school history. And that is in no small part due to Fernando Mendoza. That is hopefully going to stabilize this Raiders team. We'll see how Pete Carroll's sons can coach him up. I don't think they're going to be there for much longer, though. The Saints at 3. They did just draft a quarterback. And I think they're going to want to maybe just wait another year. They're still kind of in that cap hell from just years of cap mismanagement. So let's put quarterback on ice for now. What do they need? I think they need a game-changing defensive player. Or is someone going to trade up? Is someone going to trade up? I don't know if the Rams will trade up, but I think they could maybe make a move for their quarterback. I don't hate them trading up for Ty Simpson here. The Cardinals could also maybe try and trade up, but I don't know if that team is good enough to part with the draft. You know what? I think this will, because the Rams have 2 picks this year. They're going to be aggressive, and they're going to kind of Jordan Love and Aaron Rodgers it. Matthew Stafford, I think, is a fantastic quarterback, MVP level at this point, still playing amazingly. And if Ty Simpson can sit as a 1-year starter only at Bama, hell, I'm all for that. Let's say, from what are some previous ones that kind of, where are the Panthers? They're 9. So the Panthers traded from 9 to 1 with the Bears. That was for Bryce Young. That was 2 firsts, 2 seconds, and DJ Moore. Considering this is to 3, I feel like it will only cost 2 1s this year, and then maybe a second. next year, let's just say that, right? Again, I'm not getting my trade calculator out. I'm not a GM. I've not got my Dewey Decimal, whatever it's called, trade sheet out. But I kind of think that this makes sense. The Saints get a lot more draft capital, which they need to make their team better. And the Rams have a pick on the house essentially here from the Falcons. Why not future-proof yourself and get a quarterback when you kind of can? When else are you going to be picking this early in the draft? We're putting that through. And the Rams are going to obviously draft the one quarterback remaining here in Ty Simpson, who I think is a very good quarterback prospect, but one which I think compared to Mendoza and to Moore, I just feel a little less confident about. He is only a one-year starter. He did start the season really well, has trailed off a little bit. He had a really nice play against Auburn in the Iron Bowl when he was fading away from pressure up the A-gap through a great touchdown pass, but he is just a bit inconsistent. He did get got against Oklahoma. They're a very good defense. I just think him being able to sit with Sean McVay would be, I mean, that's a quarterback's dream. That is a quarterback's dream. And Ty Simpson would, as I say, future-proof the Los Angeles Rams. The Giants now at 4. And this is an interesting spot for them. I don't hate a second trade down here almost because the value here is obviously at edge, and this offensive tackle class is terrible. So I don't really love the idea of drafting an offensive tackle here at 4, despite that being a definite need. Caleb Downs is going to be the best player on my board. Is that worth, though, drafting at 4? Who could come up for someone like a Reuben Bain, for example? Maybe the Saints. They just traded down, though. They're not going to trade back up. I would struggle to see who would trade up at this point for one of these players. So we're going to draft them. We're going to stick and we're going to draft Caleb Downs. Yes, it's early. Yes, he's a safety. But you know what? He really is that damn good at the moment. He's a second-ranked player on my big board. But I think he's the most talented player in this class. Yes, a safety is early. Don't get me wrong. But how early would you wait to take Kyle Hamilton, who was drafted at, 14? Would you take him with a top 10 pick? Probably now. Honestly, yeah, I probably would. Does the spot of does the matter of 3, 5 pick spots really matter to you? At some point, I think in the draft, the talent just has to rise to the top. And this Giants secondary would absolutely love someone like Caleb Downs with his game IQ. He's basically the quarterback of the defense. He would massively improve the weakness of that team, which is their secondary. The defensive line is great. The secondary is not. I like Caleb Downs there. Yeah, it's a bit early. I like the talent. The Titans now. I think they just need to draft Reuben Bain Jr. I know they need offensive line. I know they've kind of started to have a bit of a J.C. Latham problem there. Dan Moore's not exactly set the world on fire either as quite a big free agent signing. But here, you want at 5 overall with this team, you just want to swing for the valuable positions. You want to swing for the talent. And Reuben Bain Jr. is a perfect blend of them both. I really like Arvell Reese, but I think for a team like the Titans who just need talent and need good players, Reuben Bain Jr. is already a very good edge rusher. Arvell Reese is a little bit unproven as is definitely unproven as a full-time edge rusher. So Reuben Bain there with Jeffrey Simmons, who is absolutely incredible still, by the way. If he was on a slightly better team, we'd be talking about Jeffrey Simmons a hell of a lot more. Jeffrey Simmons up the middle, Reuben Bain off the edge. Suddenly that defensive line is going to be able to eat and actually pressure the opposing quarterback. The Commanders at 6. Again, a team that I just think kind of needs the talent. I think maybe Arvell Reese here for them. It's tricky for the Commanders because again they need edge. Yeah, we're going to take Arvell Reese. We don't really need to think twice about it. Arvell Reese is currently the number 1 player on my big board. I might have kind of gone a little bit cooler on him. He is a fantastic player. He's an insane athlete, insanely strong. He's that converted off-ball linebacker to edge. He's still playing 50-50 between the edge and off-ball linebacker, so he's not quite the Abdul Carter, he's not quite the Micah Parsons, but he does have that same athletic and physical profile, just like running through offensive linemen who are, 50 pounds heavier than him, 3 inches taller, and can run around them too. He's just that kind of athlete. He is so strong. He has great power, great speed to power, but he's only got sub 100 pass rushing snaps from the edge. Whereas someone like Reuben Bain Jr., 300 plus, David Bailey, 300 plus. Unproven, I would play him at edge full time because I think you kind of have to with a player like that, but definitely would take some time to get there. So the Washington Commanders are going to take that talent and bank on it. The Jets. Now, yes, the Jets maybe could have traded up for a quarterback, and you don't hate that move. You can't hate that move. You can never hate, I think, being aggressive and going up for a quarterback. But if the Jets are going to end up picking at 7, I don't know why they'd kind of, use all of that draft currency they've stored up from trading away Sauce Gardner and Quinnen Williams, and then just kind of use it immediately. I think the Jets are in a position here where they can just kind of build the roster first and then put the quarterback behind it. So we're just kind of going to go best player available here for the Jets, I think. And it would be wide receiver for me, but it's just a question of which one. I've got Mekhi Lemon, but I do feel that maybe him and Garrett Wilson might kind of have a similar-ish skill set. So we're going to take Jordan Tyson. People, I think he does have. People have said this, and I agree, that he has that movement skill that is the movement skills that are reminiscent of a Justin Jefferson. He is not a Justin Jefferson right now, far from it. Obviously, one of the best receivers in the league, but Jordan Tyson is a really, really good mover at 6'2", 210 pounds. He's had multiple 100-yard games. He has circus catchability. He's got better against press this year. He's a good separator, a good route runner. I think him and Garrett Wilson, he's a fantastic wide receiver 1B, I think. Those two together pair pretty nicely, I think. And again, build this team, put the quarterback in afterwards. The Cardinals at 8. Oh, this team is rough, man. Is it ever not going to be basically just a bit worse than mid? I don't know. I mean, Kyler Murray, I think, will be traded. At one point, we will trade Kyler Murray in this mock draft. We're obviously not taking any of these guys in the first round. I feel like with the way the board has fallen here, they've kind of got to look at a valuable position. They have a top 10 overall pick. It's a little bit rich for me, but I am going to go David Bailey here, someone who is leading college football in terms of pressure. He is currently my 17th ranked player. He will be ranked higher than that when it's all said and done, I think, because he has played really well. He has a 23.4% pass rush win rate. He's got a 40+% true pass set win rate. If you let this guy pin his ears back and get after the passer, he's going to get results. And he just brings some juice. And this Cardinals team needs juice. Who was their first round pick from a few years ago? Their second first round pick, the kind of tweener, Darius Robinson. I know he's been injured, and it's hard for him to produce when he is injured and he is that tweener. But I mean, he was like my 60th ranked player in that draft. It wasn't someone that I was mad on at all, and he was taken in the first. I think despite having spent a recent high draft pick on it anyway, you've got to go back to the well. You've got to bolster the defensive line, and David Bailey does that and then some. The Saints now, after trading down, what are we going to do here? We are going to draft a wide receiver, but it's not going to be Mekhi Lemon, who is my wide receiver 1, just because of Chris Olave. They're kind of smaller, shiftier. I think Lemon's actually got a bit more juice than Olave, but I'm going to go with Carnell Tate here, a receiver who I have literally one spot after, who I think is absolutely fantastic. He is an incredible, incredible deep threat. And he just knows how to get open deep down the field. He's setting up safeties like a receiver would set up a cornerback at the line of scrimmage. He's a fantastic route runner. He can separate deep down the field. He's popping off the tape when I'm watching Jeremiah Smith tape. And Jeremiah Smith is probably going to be a Biletnikoff winner, the best wide receiver in college football. He was, at one point before his injury, averaging 18.2 yards per reception. That's basically 2 first downs. Carnell Tate is so good. I think it will unlock an extra element to this Saints offense. You have Olave as that kind of intermediate short guy. You've got Carnell Tate as the deep threat. Brings an added dimension to this offensive passing attack. And Tyler Shook has a decent arm on him. He'll be able to hit that, hopefully. The Bengals at 10. I always hate drafting for the Bengals because I just don't know what they do here, if I'm being perfectly honest with you. Defense is obviously needed. Like, you could go with a Peter Woods. I don't think Caleb Banks is going to be drafted in at least the first 20-odd picks, so definitely not at 10. Off the edge, it's not really... You could go for Keldrick Folk. Bit of a tweener, but he brings a lot of juice. He's an absolute athletic monster. Or do you kind of pigeonhole yourself and go to the offensive line and draft someone like Spencer Fano? It's pretty ugly, but they don't even necessarily need a tackle. But I don't love Orlando Brown Jr. Let's take a swing with the defensive players here, and let's go with Keldrick Folk as someone that I think is worthy of this kind of selection. I think he is just an absolute behemoth. 6'6", 285 pounds. Bit of a tweener, plays on the edge, plays in the interior, can win from both. I think just the Bengals kind of have to see where he's going to be best and just throw him out there because they need essentially a warm beating heart that is semi-capable on the defensive line. And Keldrick Folk is more than that. Just, I don't love the tweeners personally. The Vikings at 11. I've drafted Jeremiah Love to them, I think, in every single mock draft I've done. And I can't help but feel that with how this season is going for the Vikings, that drafting a running back isn't necessarily going to help them. So what I'm going to do is we're not going to draft a quarterback because it's not worth drafting one here. I will though, if it was a two round mock draft, I might draft a Garrett Nussmeier, I might draft a Lenora Sellis, I might draft a John Mateer. I love John Mateer. We'll see if he declares. But as bad as JJ McCarthy has been, and as terrible as Max Brosmer's debut was, there's no quarterback that's fallen here, so he can't do that. But I feel like then we're going to have to bolster the offensive line, and we're going to take Spencer Fano. Now, they invested quite heavily in the offensive line in the offseason. They also invested heavily in the draft with a first-round pick. Spencer Fano could be a guard, could be a tackle. He allows you just to get your best 5 guys out there. And if JJ McCarthy isn't going to be the answer long-term, 9, then you've got a good offensive line to put him behind. But I think you want to kind of remove any ounce of doubt that you have that it might be something else wrong with the team. And so Spencer Fano, it's not the exciting pick after the season they've had, but also maybe a running back in Jeremiah Love is a luxury pick this team can't afford. And I have done Jeremiah Love multiple times. I'm just trying to switch it up. These are thought experiments at this point. The Dolphins at 12. I think Tyreek Hill is gone. I think Tua and I think Mike McDaniel are going to stay for what it's worth. So we're going to go for Makai Lemon here. We're going to go for Makai Lemon, a really shifty, very agile, also very strong receiver who plays well above his 5'11", 195-pound frame. He is so good in contested catch scenarios. He just has that almost kind of that Tyreek Hill in him, right? As a receiver that just is shorter but just wants the ball. Like Tyreek Hill has fantastic jump ball ability. He can go up and get it for someone his size, relatively, like the best of them. So Makai Lemon is a nice fit there, pairs really nicely with Jalen Waddle. A bit of speed with Waddle, a bit of shiftiness with Makai Lemon. I think it works really nicely. Over 1,000 yards on the season. He's a Biletnikoff finalist. The proof's in the pudding with Makai Lemon. The Chiefs at 13. Everyone and their mothers are saying that they should draft Kenyon Sadiq. However, I think Kenyon Sadiq at 13 is crazy rich for my blood. So we're not going to do that. What is not rich for my blood, though, is Jeremiah Love at 13, because he is that good. He's my 12th ranked player, clear-cut RB1. The Chiefs' run game, very rarely is it because of bad running back play and more just bad run blocking for the most part. But the Chiefs' running backs, Brashard Smith is a nice kind of change of pace back. He's got the speed, he's got the receiving ability. But Kareem Hunt? Clyde Edwards-Helaire? What year is it? 2016? These guys are still getting carries for the Chiefs. So Jeremiah Love, huge need, huge player in terms of talent as well. Great fit. What more can you ask for? And I have come around to the running backs, maybe not being top 10 picks, but, at least Ashton Genty. But Jeremiah Love isn't quite that level of prospect. He's not a Bijan. He's not an Ashton Genty. He's that kind of next step down for me. A Jahmyr Gibbs-esque, I would say. And look at how Jahmyr Gibbs is playing in Detroit right now. The Steelers at 14. Man, give the keys to, oh my God, what's his goddamn name? The quarterback from Ohio State they drafted last year. Will Howard. Give the keys to Will Howard. I want to see what he's got. I think they might give it to Mason Rudolph, which is boring because we've seen that before. Man, this team needs a wide receiver because DK Metcalf is really not it. But I think you can get that a bit later in the draft. I think the value here is now at cornerback. So we're going to take German McCoy, who has been injured this year, hasn't played. If Tennessee were to make it into the playoffs, which they're definitely not going to, but if they were, maybe we would have seen German McCoy. He tore his ACL, I believe, in spring ball, so missed the whole season, unfortunately. But he was CB1 going into this season. Mansour Delane is right up there, but the fact that German McCoy is still in the conversation for CB1 despite not playing a snap shows the kind of talent that he is. He's got that lockdown CB1 potential. And the Steelers, despite, again, they've drafted there and have traded for players to play there, but it's still a need. It is still a need. The Panthers at 15. All of these, so many teams need a wide receiver, and it is a very good wide receiver class. I will say that. But this team kind of needs defense, I think. I've gone with the Clemson guys so many times for them, just because that's kind of where it falls. Is there... Who do I like here? Peter Woods, maybe. He doesn't play edge. Obviously, they've already got a defensive tackle. Who are the linebackers? I love Sonny Styles. It's a bit early for an off-ball linebacker at 15, I think, for this team. So I think this is, for me, going to be a wide receiver. And people aren't... I'm high on this guy. I'm very high on this guy. But I'm going to take Casey Concepcion from Texas A&M. He's my 16th ranked player currently, and I think he's going to be higher than that when it's all said and done here. This guy is just a blur, man. His legs are just going like that. You can see cornerbacks and safeties and just defensive backs panicking when he's running full speed right at them. He can cut at a 45-degree angle and just lose absolutely no speed. He's so dynamic. He's so fast. He's got juice as a punt return. He's got good vision with the ball in his hands. He is really damn good. And yes, he's smaller, 5'11", 190. But I've said it before and I'll say it again. You can't cover and you can't press what you can't touch. And Casey Concepcion has been pressed at one of the highest rates in the country this year. And he's shown repeatedly he can beat it. It's not about size. It's about your understanding of how to beat press, the timing of your release. How do you set up the cornerback? How's your timing with your swipes? How's your speed? How's your suddenness? That's what matters. That's what Casey Concepcion has. 15, you might not see him that highly in most mock drafts, but that's what you get here at Corpus NFL. And if you like it so far, make sure you subscribe. At 16, the Cowboys. I think the Cowboys here, we're going to go with a cornerback. We've added the defensive line before. I never get it right with Cowboys fans. I've done tackle. I've done defensive line. We're going to switch it up. I think with Trayvon Diggs' future being a bit uncertain in Dallas, we're going to take his replacement. We're going to draft Mansour Delane, who is the other potential CB1 in this class. Very sticky, just that annoying coverage corner that you can't shake. He's not a great athlete. I think probably that, what's his face? Where is he? John McCoy is a better athlete, which is why I ultimately took him as the CB1. But Mansour Delane is a really, really good player, and he will improve that secondary for the Cowboys. Cowboys fans, let me know. How have I done on this one? Because I can't seem to please you guys. Let me know. The Lions at 17. I mean, there's a tackle that I can think of immediately who I think this team would absolutely love, and that is Caden Proctor. It fits their team ethos really nicely in the sense that you add a literal mammoth to the offensive line. He is absolutely ginormous, Caden Proctor. He is 6'7", 360 pounds. That is 98th percentile weight. And that's just what the Lions want on their offensive line. That's the kind of run game they do. They just pound the rock at you with Jahmyr Gibbs, with David Montgomery. They want maulers on their offensive line. Added to it last year with the guard position in the draft. They're going to add to it again with the tackle position. The wheels are kind of coming off at the moment for the Lions, and I think that they are having offensive line issues. It's not a massive problem, but to add Caden Proctor, who's experienced and who's a good scheme fit, and who is also just a Lions player, one of my favorite picks I've made for the Lions. My Texans, this has to be offensive line, and there's not really a tackle left on the board, but we'll take Francis Mauigoa from Miami. Could be a guard, could be a tackle. Not a hugely thrilling pick. And you know what? The offensive line suddenly is genuinely playing all right, or at least it did against the Colts. And as a Texans fan, I am really, really here for that. There was actually a great screen grab from maybe like Dane Brugler or someone, anyway, where it was a screenshot of the Texans offensive line. It was a perfect pocket for CJ Stroud. And it was one of those things you got to rub your eyes that you can't believe what you're seeing. And we won that game against, on paper, a much better team with a better record. And the offensive line is important, as unfun as it is. And even as someone that like appreciates offensive line now that I've progressed through my career as a fan, you still need an offensive line pick. So it might not be fun. I might not go out and get Mauigoa's jersey, but he's going to improve the offensive line. Fingers crossed. The Ravens at 19, man, this team is just surging up the draft order. What are these guys going to do? I think they're going to take a swing on Peter Woods here on the interior of the defensive line. He was going into the season my number one ranked prospect, Peter Woods. Just so good from the interior. I had him penned as a Quinnen Williams Quinnen Williams, yeah, Quinnen Williams-esque kind of player, and look at what he's doing now in Dallas in a better situation than he was in New York for the Jets before. That's the kind of player that I thought Peter Woods was. Clemson, terrible season. Peter Woods, terrible season. But man, I think the talent's still got to be there. You don't stumble into the kind of production that Peter Woods had by. I mean, there's clips of him, film of him rushing off the edge. That's how athletic he is. That's how fast he is. That's how good he is as a pass rusher. That would really improve this Ravens defensive line. And at 19, bit of a discount for a down year. I like it. The Bucs at 20. This is going to be the Sonny Styles pick. I think Sonny Styles would be LB1 in basically any other class. And depending on where you have Arvell Reese, still honestly might even be. Sonny Styles is just such a well-rounded linebacker, 6'5", 250. I haven't checked this as of last week, but before last week at least, he hadn't missed a single tackle, upwards of like 60 tackles, not missed a single one. He's good at engaging with blocks. He's aggressive coming downfield. He's good at shedding blocks. He's calm when dropping back into coverage. He's a converted safety. For Todd Bowles, in this defense, having a player like Sonny Styles, who's almost like a Swiss Army knife, he can do so many different things. I like that. I like that a lot. The Bills at 21. They need a run stuffer, but you can get that in the second round. You can get that on day 2. You can maybe get a Dominique Orange, bit of a French twang there. You can get Dominique Orange, big citrus later. We're going to go with something this team has needed for ages. Keon Coleman, miss, right? I think he's just not the guy. He is not the guy. Was he a healthy scratch? Was it him that was a healthy scratch? Either way, he's just not been that good, unfortunately. They need an outside wide receiver. I like Shakir. I like Kincaid as basically a big slot. They need a guy that can line up out wide. Denzel Boston, big X-receiver, probably the best one at doing that in this class in terms of his physicality and his build. He's 6'4", he's 210. He is that kind of Drake London-esque kind of receiver, mostly used outside. That's obviously where he wins with that build, but he was also moved inside a few times this year, had really good games as a result. If you use him in the slot, get him involved in the run game as a strong blocker with his size, you can really unlock him there. And if we look at how the Bills won this week against the Steelers by running the ball basically from one formation, you put Denzel Boston out there as well, you're basically almost living in 13 personnel. He's a pseudo tight end if you've got Kincaid and you've got Jackson Hawes. Oh, sorry, that's a 10 out of 10 pick for me if I do say myself, because I think I've killed that. Bills, call me. I can be your next GM. The Eagles at 22, man. This team has an interior offensive line problem. It does. Say what you will. And we've got our choice of the interior offensive line guys. We've even got, so for me, it's a choice between Ione, forgot how to pronounce his name, Ioane, Emmanuel Pregnon. Connor Lewis torn his ACL, so we can rule him out. But then also we've got the offensive tackles who are listed as offensive tackles who I think will kick inside. Someone like a Jennings Dunker. Man, I like Jennings Dunker there to play guard for them. We're going to do that. The run game for the Eagles this year has not been that good. We've got questions around Tyler Steen. We've got questions around how maybe the veterans are going to keep going and their kind of long-term longevity. So Jennings Dunker there at 22, I'm really crushing it. The thing is with this draft and this draft class is that I think it's fair to say that from kind of from basically 7, it's a bit of a dead zone. You kind of have to reach on quite a lot of players. But it is quite a deep draft in the sense that you can get some really nice players in the later picks from the 20s onwards and feel really good about them. And Jennings Dunker, guard from Iowa, ginger, mullet, mustache, farm boy, mauler, tick, 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 tick. Thank you very much. The Jets. And we could look at maybe drafting a quarterback, but I don't think it's really worth it here. I think we're just going to wait on the quarterback. Our first pick, we took Jordan Tyson. We got the wide receiver. Now we're going to go, again, I just kind of want to just get the talent. Caleb Banks, maybe. He's been injured this year, but was a very high-ranked player going into it. I don't love the cornerbacks that are left on the board at the moment. Let's have a look at who we have. We've got an Avian Terrell. Brandon Cisse I like, but I'm looking for home runs here for the Jets. I'm looking for just good players. And TJ Parker. Are we going to take a swing on TJ Parker? I don't know. I think here, who's on my board? Let's look at who I've got on my board. I've got Mateo Uangalele. I've got Kenyon Sleet. They don't need a cornerback. Cassius Allen, he's got short arms. TJ Parker. I wouldn't be shocked if TJ Parker ultimately went on day 2. But, or should we just go with Caleb Banks? Let's go with Caleb Banks. We're going to take the defensive interior guy. We're going to look for that Quinnen Williams replacement. Yes, Caleb Banks hasn't played a lot of football this year because of an injury, but he was a highly ranked prospect going to this year. He has the talent. He's got the build. Let's see what we can do with him. We're not in a rush in New York for the Jets. We've got time. We've got a lot of draft picks. We've got a lot of time. Let's take a swing on Caleb Banks. At 24, the 49ers. Center, tackle. Who's left on the tackle board? Not Caleb. No tackle. Oh, Blake Miller. Blake Miller, welcome to the team. I think Blake Miller is going to be one of those later risers in the draft process because he's a tackle. People start watching the wide receivers and the quarterbacks and the running backs first, the edge defenders. Tackle, I think, is the kind of position that people don't flock to when draft season starts. But Blake Miller is the Anthony Richardson of offensive tackle prospects. He's 6'6", 315, 35-inch arms, been a multi-year starter, I think a 3-year starter for Clemson. Still not a finished product, still allows a lot of guys into his chest, but he had a fantastic game against, who was it against? One of the premier edge rushers in this class. Damn, I can't remember. But it was a really good battle. And Blake Miller at 24 to get a kind of developmental tackle, I like it. I like it a lot. Sorry, I'm just housing these picks right now. Let me know in the comments if you agree or not. And if you don't agree, you're wrong. The Chargers at 25. This could be like a Dylan Thieneman, but I don't really think a second safety is going to go in the first round. They could go TJ Parker. Could Jesse Minter, if he stays, fix TJ Parker? Who else do we have at edge? Cassius Howell, I'm avoiding like the plague because he's got confirmed sub 31-inch arms. And I just don't think a first-round player is going to go there. Mason Thomas, I like. Probably not here. You know what? Let's see what Jesse Minter can work with TJ Parker, assuming that Jesse Minter will still be the defensive coordinator going into next year if he's not poached as a head coaching candidate. The Titans, so after their trade, they trade down twice? Why have they got the Jags? Oh, okay, that's from last time. The Titans are back on the clock. And what did we take with? We took Ruben Bain. Offensive line now? I think so. I think it's time to look at the offensive line. I like Ioane here as someone that can play all 3 interior line or offensive line positions. Right guard, center, left guard. Got there in the end. And he's just an absolute wall, this guy. Produced at a really high rate. I think he's one of those prospects that I just know is going to be good. Again, not someone that's going to go particularly highly, not going to blow anyone away. But he's not allowed a sack since 2023. Give me that guy, man. Give me that guy at 26. Give me that every day of the week and twice on Sundays. The Cowboys, now with their pick from the Packers. And I tell you what, look, Jerry Jones, you might have cooked. George Pickens, unbelievable. Quinnen Williams, looking fantastic. We drafted what do we go for the first? We drafted cornerback. Not really a tackle that I like here, so we're going to leave that. Linebacker. There is a linebacker that I do really like, but I think I've done this before for the Cowboys and they don't love it. But CJ Allen, we're going to take CJ Allen. He is just your prototypical middle linebacker. He's great against the run. He can chase down athletic quarterbacks on QB runs. He can chase down wide receivers on jet sweeps. He's a thumper downhill. Quinnen Williams, CJ Allen, man. The defense, and we're getting what? Savon Ravel's coming back from injury. He's going to be your CB2, maybe, depending on how Delane's doing as your CB1. The Cowboys are cooking. Jerry, maybe you do know a thing or two about a thing or two. The Seahawks at 28. I feel like we could go center, we could go guard. They have their tight end in AJ Barner, weirdly enough, even though they drafted, who was it? The other Oregon tight end? Honestly, as soon as one draft goes, I just forget about all the players. Is there a wide receiver here that I like? Elijah Surratt? Not really as a first round guy, but I think this team needs a wide receiver because, Chris Bell, welcome. Chris Bell for me is currently, where is he? He's currently in the teens. Yeah, 19 for me on my big board. So I know it's a reach by PFF's board, not for mine. I think pairing him as a more kind of dynamic yards after the catch guy, more speed, a bit of a bigger body, 6'2", 220. him and JSN, that's a really good core. At the moment, it's just kind of the shell of Cooper Kupp. Obviously, JSN's fantastic. But I think and then you've got Shaheed as the deep threat, and you've got the rookie as well. Can't remember who they drafted as the rookie. That's what I'm talking about. But if you then add Chris Bell as that genuine wide receiver 2, Shaheed as that wide receiver 3 speedster, you got the yards after the catch guy with Chris Bell, big-bodied, almost got that A.J. Brown build. Sam Darnold, MVP campaign starts 2026. The Saints. So they traded back with the Rams twice. They drafted Carnell Tate with their first pick. And again, we're just going to I was going to think maybe we go with Lenora Sellers, but then you've just got 3 developmental quarterbacks on the roster in Spencer Rattler, Tyler Shook, and Lenora Sellers. That doesn't help you at all. We're trying to narrow our quarterback search, not expand it. So no quarterback. We've gone wide receiver already. Defensive line, is there any? Yeah, Caden McDonald. Bit slept on, but a really good player. And they wide receiver. We don't need wide receiver again. Tight end and Kenyon Sadiq. Yeah, let's do it. Kenyon Sadiq, the tight end at 29. Player that I'm less high on than others. I think that he's got a very good PR team and everyone loves talking about Kenyon Sadiq and loves pairing them with the Chiefs. I know they've got, Foster Moreau and Juwan Johnson at tight end, but look, Kenyon Sadiq will bring some juice. He's a good receiving threat, kind of that big slot Dalton Kincaid-ish kind of guy. And at 29, I like that value, honestly. You get the best tight end in the class. At 29, you got 2 extra basically receivers for your offense now. Yeah, I like it for the Saints. Saints fans, let me know. What do you think? Comment. The Broncos at 30. God, the Broncos are such frauds, man. Such frauds. This team is they might have a negative point differential, genuinely. What are they? They could have gone with Kenyon Sadiq. I would have really liked that pick. No running backs, no tight ends left. They kind of need, I think, a cornerback. Riley Moss is a little bit volatile, shall we say. So let's go with Brandon Cisse. Got the wheels, a bit of a better athlete. I'm not a huge Avion Terrell guy. Maybe that would have been the better pick as just the CB2 because Satan's obviously going to be your CB1. Maybe I should have gone with Terrell there, but I do have Cisse ranked higher. So I'll stick to my big board, but yeah, I kind of regret that one. The Bears, oh my God. Bears at 31, man. I'm so here for that. What are they going to go? They kind of need someone off the edge, I think, don't they? They need a bit of pressure off the edge. Romello Height. Yeah, I like Armason Thomas as well. Linebacker. It's a really good linebacker class. Like, you could get an Anthony Hill. You could get a Deontay Lawson. They could be first-round guys. Probably going to leave that. You can also get a Whit Weeks late. You can get a Torian York on day 2. So I feel good to leave linebacker. Let's look at defensive line. I think here we're going to go with Caden McDonald. Someone that I feel just a little bit better about than the other edge defenders still on the board. Elsie Overton's a bit of a tweener. Cassius Howe's got the short arms. Caden McDonald, again, a player that I think is going to rise because he's kind of being slept on at the moment. He's a really good interior defensive lineman. The Bears are going to need a player like that. And this team, if you bolster the defense and you've still got Ben Johnson and Caleb Williams just, working fantastically together on the offensive side of the ball, maybe this team could win a Super Bowl. My God, a Bears Super Bowl. The world could genuinely end. If Caleb Williams wins the Super Bowl, the narrative for wow. Wow. As a Caleb Williams truther, I'm going to be so here for that. And then, well, you know what I'm going to be here for? A Drake May. Not just MVP season, because I think he's locked that up now. Super Bowl MVP. Double MVP season, Drake May. Wow. I think there might be parties around the nation, parties around the world, because I'll be hosting one here in London for Pookie, Drake May. What do they need? They've kind of got their pick of the bunch here, right? We could go with an interior offensive lineman, someone like Emmanuel Pregnon. Don't know if it's French, don't know if it's Pregnon. Edge, don't know if edge. They could go Avion Terrell as that cornerback opposite then. Yeah, we're going to go with Avion Terrell as that to be that CB2 then opposite Christian Gonzalez. Take the Patriots, apparently Super Bowl winning New England Patriots, maybe to a back-to-back Super Bowl showing. So you can see on the board now, my picks. What do you think? Like them? Don't like them, love them, hate them. Did I miss on anyone? Did I make the wrong player selection? Let me know all your thoughts down below. And as always, if you agree with me, you're wrong, and improve your ball knowledge. And if you enjoyed the video, subscribe. If you've also enjoyed the video, make sure you like and leave a comment, push this video out to other fans out there. But I've been your host, Dom Corbs. This has been Corbs NFL. I'll see you on the next video.